Hey team, Russell here. I wanted to add an additional video to this particular section of the abstract reasoning exam preparation, and that's because I've had a second question now from members in regards to this particular type of question where you've got to sort the boxes in order to then determine which one would be in the center. And the question now has come up a second time, and that is, well, how do you determine which one would be in position number one? Now, if we scroll down to the very bottom of this particular abstract reasoning course, you'll see there's some rules that we go through in a conclusion, but you'll also notice here that there's a demonstration video from Asa. Now, Asa's explanation is that you should place the boxes in a logical order. That's all it says, just place it in a logical order. Now, if you look over to the right here, this particular find the middle section, which is what we're talking about now, there's quite a few example ones where we go through this particular type of question where we're placing the boxes in a logical order and then determining which one is in the middle. Now, I'm adding this to the end of this section, or this particular video, to the end of this section because the questions come up twice now, which is enough for me to be able to understand there's maybe an extra need for some explanation around logical order. And it's a little bit loose, but the logical order can probably fit into a couple of different boxes. So let's have a look at this example on the iPad. I'm just going to scribble down here. A logical order for this particular example where we've got these different shapes and they just happen to be triangles, but if we had to sort them into some sort of logical order and then select the one that would be in the middle, it seems logical to me that you would start with the smallest one, so this one, then the next biggest one would be that one, the next biggest one, this one, the next biggest one, and the next biggest one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, when we've done that, we would be able to determine that this one here, number 3, would sit in the middle. Given that there are 5, there's going to be 2 on this side, 2 on this side, and number 3 would be in the middle. And it just seems logical that you would start, and it's quite big. This one's got 2, they're quite small. The size is not relevant in this case, it's the number of circles within the box that's relevant. So here you've got quite different shapes or sizes going on with this one. So again, you place that in a logical order. Number 3 is going to be the one. Okay, so here's the example. They've got a set of hearts here, all at sort of different angles, and they explain that the heart is rotating. Well, you could start from anywhere. You could start from D and then start rotating from there, or you could start at A and start rotating from that position. But if we go back to the iPad here, it makes more sense that you would start from that particular shape's normal orientation. It reminds me of a house. I would typically think that this one here is the normal orientation for this type of shape because it looks like a house. So for me, that would be position number 1. Now, generally, not always, you have to look carefully, but generally things will rotate in a clockwise direction. Now, if you apply that and it doesn't seem to work out, it may very well be that in this particular example, it's going the opposite direction. But generally, it seems more logical to me that you would start in the normal orientation of that particular type of shape and you would progress in a clockwise direction. All right, so now we've got this situation where there are sort of shapes within shapes. We've got a line here, this black line within the other lines. The actual outer shape, circle, square, triangle, doesn't really matter. But what we can see is that in the center of the squares here, right in the very center, there's a black mark or a black line. If we move out to the next sort of layer, so to speak, this triangle shape seems to fit that. And if we go out to the next layer again, so we started here, we went out to here, the next natural progression would be out to here. That seems to make sense for me. Now, there's only 3 here. And naturally, we've got this blue mark in the middle here in one of these little squares, little grid positions. And if we arrange these in a logical order, what makes sense to me is that we would start in the first column and we would move our way across to the next column, just sort of working our way from left to right. And you can apply that here. So this is the first column, so this would be number 1 for me. The next column is here, so for me that's number 2. But here's the follows that natural movement, generally from left to right or from top to bottom. All right, so again, this section here will cover these types of questions. There's plenty of examples that we work through in detail.